Do any of you know what the word chanoyu means? If not, let me tell you. It is a Japanese word that simply translates to hot water for tea, but the historical and cultural significance of chanoyu is so much greater than that. The Japanese tea ceremony, or chanoyu, is a cultural ritual that reflects Japanese values of harmony, respect, and mindfulness. Because of my love for sushi and Japanese delicacies, I became interested in learning more about the Japanese culture. After spending some time researching, I became especially drawn to the unique cultural significance of tea ceremonies. In an age of fast-paced living, learning about such practices can offer insight into the value of slowing down and being intentional with our time and actions. Today, I'll explain the origins and philosophy behind this tea ceremony, describe the ceremonial process, and highlight its cultural significance in modern Japan. Let's begin by looking at where this tradition came from and the philosophy that guides it. This tea ceremony has its roots in Zen Buddhism and was influenced by Chinese tea rituals. According to Anna Willman, an author at the Met Museum, chanoyu literally translates to English as hot water for tea, but really it represents something so much greater than that. A secular practice in which tea is consumed in a specialized space with codified procedures. In an article published by the Asian Art Museum, the author describes the 4 guiding principles of chanoyu, also known as Wa-Kessei Jaku. Wa-Kessei Jaku. Wa meaning harmony between guests, hosts, nature, and setting. Kei means respect and sincerity toward one another regardless of rank or status. Sei means purity or to spiritually cleanse oneself, to be pure of heart and mind. And finally, Jaku means tranquility and inner peace that results from obtaining the first 3 principles. 16th century tea master Sen no Rikyu, who is famous for having the most important influence on the tradition, once said, "When you hear the splash of water drops that fall into the bowl, you will feel that all the dust in your mind is washed away," in regards to the beginning of the ceremony. Now that we understand the background, let's take a look at what actually happens throughout the ceremony. Every step, from cleansing the utensils to serving tea to the way that the guests must bend their knees when they sit, is done with deliberate precision. For example, a host may spend hours preparing the room and practicing their gestures for only a 30-minute ritual. And Willman even says that the act of preparing is a choreographed art that requires many years of study to master. Participants, on the other hand, engage fully by observing silence, bowing, sitting in the proper position, wearing the appropriate attire, and savoring each moment and flavor. One American student described the silence of her first tea ceremony in Kyoto as deafening but meditative. Finally, let's consider why this centuries-old ritual is still being practiced today. This tea ceremony is still often taught in Japanese schools and practiced in Japanese households during seasonal holidays and major life events. It is seen as a form of mindful living, which in itself is gaining popularity in Western culture through practices like yoga and meditation. These types of mindful living serve as spiritual and social practices and allow us an opportunity to think about the way that we spend our time. This tea ceremony is so much more than just making tea. It's a ritual that captures a cultural mindset. The tea ceremony reveals deep values of harmony, respect, purity, and mindfulness. We explored its origins in Zen Buddhism, observed the step-by-step ceremonial process, and recognized its continuing importance in today's Japanese society. By learning about the tea ceremony, we gain not only insight into Japanese culture, but also a reminder to embrace slowness and presence in our own life. Through chanoyu, sharing a bowl of tea becomes an act that evokes self-awareness, generosity towards others, and a reverence for nature. So the next time you sip your morning coffee or tea before work, when you normally be checking your emails, looking at your phone, watching the news, I encourage you to pause, slow down, and take a quiet moment for yourself. Let it be a small practice of mindfulness inspired by the spirit of chanoyu, because to some, what might seem like a simple beverage is actually a doorway into centuries of grace and intention.